Testing. I wonder which microphone you're using. Hey guys. I don't know if I am in, if the microphone is the right one. I can't tell. It sounds okay though, right? Good to see y'all. Well, it sounds okay to me. All right, how are y'all? So it seems the Delphi stuff came out, which was pretty amazing. I thought that people were going to have to pay for it, and I know that there were a few people, or at least criminality, had sent in money to pay for it, but then they got it for free. So that's awesome. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do my best reading these. We'll see how well that goes. Sparker, Cami, Hoodie. Let me just share this to Discord because I told a few people I might be reading them. I know Defense Diaries is also reading them. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be reading them because people have been waiting for this for a while. So let's see. I just put that right in the wrong place. Let's see. All right. Now I've posted it. We can begin. I'm gonna have to put on my podcast voice, and I'll keep the chat up on here because it's difficult to see on there for whatever reason. So I don't know. Do all the things. Chat it up in here so that I can see if it's working properly. I'm starting at opening statements. I'm not going through the other 221 pages just in this alone. And there are volumes of these. So I already started reading everything, but then I just said I'd rather just read it with you guys because this is very long. So Mr. McClellan opens. Now, has everybody followed Delphi? I'm going to guess that you have. And, well, I'm going to hope that you have. So that you know what the case is all about. But clearly it's about Abby and Libby. The trial transcripts were finally released. I don't know if it was just today, but... All right, Cami. All right, we're going to start reading. This is Mr. McClellan. I have everything up on the screen so that you can hear it or see it while you're listening. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. I was hoping to show you a video, but it's not going to work out. A few short days ago, I told you this case was about Bridge Guy, a bullet, and the brutal murder of 2 young girls. Now it's time for you to hear the rest of the story. How Richard Allen murdered A.W. and L.G. Clearly that's Abby and Libby. I want to take you back to February 13th, 2017, the day where everything changed for Abby and Libby. As we told you before, it was unseasonably warm that day in Carroll County. It was a nice summer day in the middle of winter, hint of spring, which was just around the corner. On top of that, Abby and Libby had a day off of school, so they decided to go out to the trails, specifically out to the Mononhai Bridge, to be outside, enjoy nature, enjoy the weather, and enjoy their day off school. Now, I told you before, the trails are a trail system in Delphi. There are trails that wind through the city. They go through various wooded areas and go along and across streams, rivers, and creeks. The Mononhai Bridge is an abandoned train trestle 60 feet up above Deer Creek. So the girls head out to the trails. They asked Kelsey German to go with them. She wasn't able to. However, she was able to give them a ride. On the way to the trails, Libby snapped pictures of her and Abby in the back seat of Kelsey's car, laughing and joking. Kelsey dropped off the two girls at the entrance of the trails, what is known as the Mears entrance. The entrance goes along the property of the Mears family, owned by the Mears family, so everyone in this community refers to it as the Mears entrance. They enter into the trails through this entrance, and they head towards the Mononhai Bridge. I want to tell you a little about Abby and Libby. First of all, hearing from me in court and hearing me speak, you know they commonly go by Abby and Libby, what they're commonly referred to. They were best friends. They were always together. They were really more like sisters than friends. To put it into perspective, out of the two of them, only Libby had a phone, but Libby had Abby's fingerprint to put in her phone so that Abby could use it anytime she wanted. They were both students at Delphi Middle School, so they hung out together and they went to school together. They did everything together. They were best friends. As they went down the trail, Libby was on her phone like most teenagers. She was talking to friends, texting family. She was on Snapchat. She was able to look at pictures from other friends, posting her own pictures. And I know everyone knows what Snapchat is, but it's an app that you have on your phone where you take a picture and you can post it online. The picture's up there for a period of time and then it disappears. It's a pretty popular app for kids in this community. She did that as Abby and her walked down the trail towards the Mononhai Bridge. I want to tell you a little about the bridge. Now, I'd hoped the video was going to show the bridge and maybe I'll be able to show you a video of it later. But it's a very high bridge. It's a very old bridge and it's a very long bridge. Once you're on the bridge, there's nowhere to go. There are no rails. There's a few platforms in certain places. If you had to escape and you were on the bridge, you'd have nowhere to go but to jump off. The railroad ties that hold the bridge are falling apart. Some are broken, some are loose, heck, even some of them are missing altogether. School kids in our community love to cross the bridge. They cross the bridge. Libby continues to use her phone, continues to take pictures and post them on Snapchat. Takes a picture of Abby, posts it on Snapchat. As they crossed the bridge, Libby went first and Abby followed. As Libby got to the end of the bridge, she waited for Abby. Libby continued to play on her phone, but as she got to the end, she looked back and she noticed a man was following Abby, and something inside Libby told her she needed to get out her phone and film the man following Abby. I apologize. 2:13 p.m. is when she did that. The man follows Abby off the bridge to where Libby is standing. He then pulls out a gun and orders both the girls down the hill. Those chilling words, girls, down the hill. They complied against their will. And as this happens, the video on Abby's phone cuts off, or Libby's phone cuts off. Imagine 13 and 14 years old. You're with your best friend. The weather's beautiful. You're off school, and you decide to have fun. Go to the trails and cross the bridge. A local challenge in our community. And while you're doing that, you're laughing, you're joking. You're posting pictures on Snapchat. But as you end the bridge, you notice the man following you. You get that chill, that feeling that you have when something isn't right. You pull out your phone and you took the video of the man, and as you do, your friend runs to your aid. The man approaches, pulls out a gun, and orders you and your friend down the hill. Imagine the fear you would have. A gun pointed at you. being ordered down the hill against your will. Out of fear, the girls complied. They complied with his orders, not knowing what he wanted or what he was going to do to them, completely powerless. He had the power and the fear that forced them down that hill. Later that day, Derek German arrives at the trail to pick up the girls, but they are nowhere to be found. He calls other family members to assist, but no one can locate the girls. The police are called and a search is started. The search ensues for the girls until 2 a.m. on February 14th, and then it picks up again later that morning at 6 a.m. As the search progressed through the day, the girls were ultimately found. Both were dead, 13 and 14 years old. They were found just upstream from the Mononhigh Bridge near the Deer Creek. You're going to see pictures of this scene, and it was a gruesome scene. Libby was completely naked, covered in blood, with her throat cut in several places. Libby's blood was all over the ground in several places, and even on one of the trees. Abby, she had on her own undershirt, but she had on Libby's sweatshirt and Libby's jeans. Abby had on her own shoes, but no socks. Her throat was also cut. The rest of the girls' clothes were found in Deer Creek with the exception of two things. One of Libby's shoes and Libby's cell phone. They were found underneath the body of Abby. Also found at the scene was a lone bullet, an unspent bullet, inches away from the bodies of Abby and Libby, specifically a Winchester .40 caliber bullet. The phone, along with other items, were sent to be processed to see what evidence they could gather, to see what they could find. On the phone were the last pictures taken by Libby of her and Abby, and those pictures that Libby took while on the ride in Kelsey's car. There's also the videos Libby took, the video at the end of the Mononhigh Bridge that showed the man that was following Abby, that showed the man who kidnapped Abby and Libby, the man we know as Bridge Guy. As the investigation progressed, witnesses start to come forward with information. You're going to hear from 3 girls that were on the bridge that day, Anna, Rayleigh, and Brianna. They were on the trail as well, taking pictures of nature with Friend Bridge. And right after that, they ran into a man along the trail, and later described that male as walking with a purpose, but not very friendly. Most importantly, they're all going to testify that the man they saw on the trail that day is Bridge Guy. You're going to hear from Betsy Blair. She came forward. She was on the trail that day as well. She uses the trail to exercise. She walks the loop on the trail for her exercise daily. She walked down to the Mononhigh Bridge, and when she got to the bridge, she saw the male out on the first platform on the bridge. She'll testify the guy she saw is Bridge Guy from LG's video. You're then going to hear from Sarah Carbar, who said that she drove east on 300 North that day. She saw a man walking alongside the road, and that man was muddy and bloody, like he had just slaughtered a pig. And she'll tell you the man she saw was Bridge Guy. Years passed, and through the years, investigators worked on the case, tried to find additional clues. Included in the people working on the case was a gal named Kathy Shank. As she was reviewing old reports, she came across a report by a DNR officer, Department of Natural Resources, named Dan Doolin, and in 2017, he spoke to Richard Allen and made a report. And when he spoke to Richard Allen in 2017, Richard Allen told him he arrived at the trails at 1:30 and he was there until 3:30, and that while he was on the trail, he ran into 3 girls. Kathy immediately took this report to Tony Liggett, who was the detective at the time. You're going to hear Tony Liggett testify that the tip stuck out to him immediately because he knew if they could find the man that ran into the 3 girls, they would be able to identify Bridge Guy, and so it immediately stuck out to him. Law enforcement immediately called Richard Allen, they interviewed him, and Richard Allen admitted he was on the trail February 13th of 2017, and he ran into 3 girls on the trail. He also stated he was wearing a blue or black Carhartt coat jeans and fit the description of the man on the bridge. Also found out that he owned firearms. Investigators searched Richard Allen's house. They found a blue Carhartt jacket, several knives, and a box cutter and box cutters, boots, a .40 caliber gun with .40 caliber ammunition. The gun was sent to the lab and tested. It was confirmed that the bullet at the scene was cycled through Richard Allen's gun, that it came from Richard Allen's gun, that the bullet was found between the two bodies of Abby and Libby. Richard Allen was brought in for a second interview. This information was put in front of him. He had no explanation for how this bullet ended up between the bodies. I don't know. The story could have ended there. Richard Allen was arrested, and while he was incarcerated, he confirmed what investigators knew, that he was the one that killed Abby and Libby. And it just wasn't one admission. It was several, some with details of the crime, how he did it, why he did it. And these aren't admissions he made while he was being interrogated or being tortured or even being asked questions by police. These are admissions that he told his wife, his mother, unprovoked, admissions that were freely and knowingly made, admissions that had details only the killer would know. You're going to hear those details. For 5 years, he lived in the community. He worked in this community, and he hid in plain sight. The state is confident after you hear this evidence, you will be firmly convinced that Richard Allen is the man on the bridge that kidnapped Abby and Libby and then intentionally murdered them, that Richard Allen is the man on the bridge and that he used his gun to gain power over the two girls and force them down the hill. The words that he uttered to those girls that forced them down the hill, and he was going to have his way with him, it says, but with them. But he was interrupted. And we're going to talk to you and tell you about that interruption, and after which he forced them to cross the creek and he killed them. The evidence will show the last face the girls saw before their throats were slit was Richard Allen's face. The state believes that you'll be firmly convinced that he's the one that killed Abby and Libby. Thank you, Judge. The court says, Mr. Baldwin. Trial transcripts. These are the actual transcripts from the trial. Yep. My mouth is a little dry. Yep. Nobody wrote it. These are just them. Well, we'll see, Susie. Let's see. We're going to find out. Yes, it's the actual court transcripts. All right. Here comes Mr. Bald. It's hard to hear me. Is it? Cammy, is it hard to hear me? I'm just waiting for you guys to tell me. I know there's a delay. You hear me fine? Does everybody else hear me fine? If you do, please put a 1 in the chat now so that we can move on. Volume-wise. All right, let's see if that helps it at all. Let me know. It should be much more clear now, if anything. The static is gone. Good. Okay. I'm talking too fast. Okay. All right, I'll try to slow down a little bit. All right. Here comes the defense. Hey, Michelle. That's much better. It's clear. Good. It was taking from my webcam, so I apologize. I didn't realize that. All right. If I need to slow down while you guys are listening, just put like a 1 in the chat or type a bunch of 1s or something so that my eyes will go over there, okay? If you don't mind. Hey, Dina. All right. This is Mr. Baldwin, who is Richard Allen's attorney, okay? Richard Allen is truly innocent. Truly innocent. And when a man is truly innocent, there will be reasonable doubt from the evidence and from the lack of evidence. It may be hard to believe what you hear, but we ask you to wait, because in this case, you're going to find out that the evidence and the lack of evidence shows that Richard Allen is actually innocent, and that therefore there is reasonable doubt. We want the truth to come out in this courtroom, for the families and for you all, most importantly. So I'm going to preview that evidence that you're going to be looking at over the next few weeks. It starts out that you're going to find out that this case and the investigation was messed up from the beginning to the middle and as recently as the last couple of days. The beginning, you'll find out that the evidence was lost. Evidence was lost. It's gone. Poof. Steve Mullen was in charge of that evidence. We're talking about the important evidence that happens right after they start an investigation. We are talking about the evidence of interviews of key witnesses that are gone forever. And Richard Allen and his defense team will never, ever get the chance to see that evidence, and neither will you. We're talking about evidence that they don't even know who they interviewed because they didn't bother to write it down. The names of the people that they interviewed. We're talking about days and days and days of evidence right after the murders. And that wasn't all. A month later, they lost more evidence. From April the 29th to June 2nd, they lost interview after interview that we will never see. Richard Allen will never have the benefit of looking at it, and neither will you. You will find out that the defense didn't even learn about that stuff until very late. We had been asking for it. That's the beginning. In the middle, you're going to find out that the state of Indiana kicked out the FBI. They were having some turf wars, and you'll hear about that. Kicked them out. That's going to be a problem, you're going to find out, because they not only kicked out the FBI, but their digital forensics people. You're going to find out that their digital forensics people had been given Libby's phone, the extraction from that, and before the FBI had a chance to talk with the state police about their findings, if they had any, they were kicked out. And that's going to be a major problem. You'll find out in a moment. Okay, let me just check. It's clear, but the volume's low. Is it still low? Oh my goodness, it should not be low at all. I'm trying not to like breathe on you guys right here. I don't want to do that. I guess just turn it all the way up. Okay. I don't like mouth sounds, so I'm trying not to get too close to the microphone. I apologize. But here we go. All right. And then most recently, 2 days ago, you're going to find out that law enforcement is scrambling a bit. Some of you, on the one panel, I didn't talk about it, but on the other, I did. There is a hair found in Abby's hand, a strand of hair around her fingers with a root and DNA that can be extracted from that root. It's a bit too low. Hold on. Let me see here. Let me make sure that it's here. You just adjusted your volume. Okay. How about now? If I get... Okay. All right. Okay. Some of you on one panel, I didn't talk about it, but on the other I did. There is a hair found in Abby's hand, a strand of hair that was around her fingers, with a root. Yeah, this is very loud. I don't know. Sorry, guys. It's about as loud as it's going to be because I just listened in my own ear, and that is very loud. So, there is a hair found in Abby's hand, a strand of hair around her fingers, with a root and DNA that can be extracted from that root. And DNA was extracted from the root. In the DNA analysis, her name is her name is Stacy B. She will be testifying about that hair. It might be from a relative of Libby. We know it's not Libby's hair. The DNA, it's not Libby's hair because the DNA is not from Libby. We know it's not Abby's DNA. It's a female hair. And all we need to know, whether it's a family member or not, you will find that all we need, Stacy will tell you, is to test the mom or the grandma or the sister of Libby. And once we do that, we will know whether it's a family member or somebody else, and it could be either. And after I give my mini opening, they scrambled because in 7 years, they never turned over the sister or the mother's DNA to the lab to find out whose hair that might be, even now. I hope they get the result back of the DNA so the truth can come out in this courtroom. Truth, believe it or not, can come out in a phone. These phones, they don't lie. The data, the forensic data on these phones doesn't lie. It doesn't cheat. It doesn't have emotion. You're going to hear all this. The data is hard and the data is the data. And when you find out what is on this, Libby's phone is what I'm talking about. The phone that was found under Abby. Their case is going to start to fall apart right in front of your very eyes. The man, there's a couple of guys from the state police who are nice fellows. Their names are Brian Bunner and Chris Cecil. You're going to like them, I think. They are in charge of analyzing the phone dumps. You'll get the phone dumps and extractions, things like that. They are in charge, and I have been in charge of understanding the data. The hard data that doesn't lie off of Libby's phone. And what you're going to find out is, sadly, they were ill-equipped to understand the data. We'll talk about that in a moment. Chris Cecil will tell you that the data from the phone dump is accurate and reliable. And we're happy about that because this data will be incredibly important in your deliberations and as you follow the case evidence. Well, I think it's important to tell you what the state's theory is. They kind of previewed it. And what I want to do is I'm going to ask that they be held to that theory because I think they're going to have to change their theory after this case starts involving in front of you, okay? Their theory is that Richard Allen, well, strike that. We'll start with Libby and Abby. Libby and Abby were on the ground in the woods at 4 o'clock. At the very latest, 4 o'clock. They were deceased and on the ground at 4 o'clock on the 13th. That's a Monday, Monday the 13th. And at 5 o'clock, their bodies didn't move. 6, 7, 8, midnight, 1 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. Bodies are still there, according to this theory, their theory, that at 6 a.m. and noon, those bodies didn't move. They were there from the 13th. At least 4 o'clock, they'll say. Probably they're going to say more like 3:30 p.m., all the way up until the time when the bodies were recovered. That's their theory. The phone, Libby's phone, they're going to say was under the body, was under Abby's body at 3:30, 4, 5, 6, 8, midnight, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning, all the way up until the bodies were recovered around noon on the 14th, Tuesday the 14th. That's what their theory is. That phone never moves. Hard data, Richard Allen. What's their theory about Richard Allen? Their theory is that Richard arrived at the trails and parked at the CPS lot. You're going to hear a lot about the CPS lot. I gotta try to recreate what you're going to find out. So as you're heading down 300 North, that's the road that takes you to the CPS lot, which is one place where cars would park when they want to get on the trail. And the Mears lot that you just heard about is a little farther down. So as you're driving down 300 North, this is the CPS lot. You can park there, and then you can cut over to the Monon High to the trail. It's about 100 yards or something, so you're a little bit back farther on the trail. Or you can continue to drive and head into the Mears entrance here. And now you're about halfway down the trail. If you're following, and the trail kind of runs parallel to 300 North, then you go down about 50 yards, you'll be at the trail. And what the state's theory is that Richard Allen drove this way, which is not a normal way that he would ever drive. And you'll learn about that. It won't even make sense that he drove this way. But that's what they need to be the case, because you'll find out why. But he drove this way, and then he parked past the Mears entrance and parked at the CPS entrance at 1:30. That is their theory. And at 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. Now, think about what's going on at this time in their theory. Abby and Libby are being abducted and murdered. 3 o'clock, 3:30. Richard Allen's car, they say, is parked right here at the CPS lot. 3:45, 4 o'clock. Their theory is that Richard Allen's car is parked, and then sometime around 4, after 4, Richard Allen leaves. That's their theory. You'll also find out that their theory is that once Richard Allen, and this is important, once Richard Allen left, he didn't take their phone. He didn't take Libby's phone, the hard data on it, and he never came back to the crime scene. And they're going to say that that's all going to be important. So that's what they say. Richard Allen is what happened with him, with the phone and with Abby and Libby. What is the defense theory based upon the evidence? Well, let me go through the evidence and tell you what the defense theory is based upon the evidence. Richard Allen was never on the trail at the same time with those girls. All of this identification business, these girls, and all the list of who that is, you're going to even see Rayleigh Voorhees and those people. They're talking about some guy that's 5'11", doesn't really meet the description of 5'5" Richard Allen. You'll make your own decisions on the value of their testimony. Richard Allen was gone by 1:30. Had been on the bridge walking on the trail towards the bridge 12:31. He's gone by 1:30. Now we know this for a fact, and you will learn this from the evidence, that his car is gone by 2:15 p.m. Okay? Remember, think about the video that is at 2:13. His car is gone out of the CPS lot. And if his car is gone, Richard is gone. How do we know that? What is the evidence going to be about that? Betsy Blair. You've heard her name a second ago. She is going to be an incredibly important witness for you all. Betsy Blair. You're going to like her. Betsy is going to testify that when she drove by the CPS lot at 2:15, we know that she drove by the CPS lot right around that time because there is a camera that shows her between the Mears lot. This is the CPS lot and that's the Mears lot. Right in between, there's a camera at the Hoosier Harvest Store. That's going to be an important thing that you guys are going to hear about. The Harvest Store will help give us some tent poles of when times and things happen. Seconds or so later, she's going to be at the CPS lot. And when she testifies, you will hear her. You will hear what she saw at 2:15. Remember what their theory is of happening at 2:15. Richard Allen has already abducted the girls, so his car should be here. Well, was his car here? Here's what Betsy will testify to. Quote, "My dad used to, when I was a kid, he had a Comet." End quote. She thought it was a Ford Comet, but it was a Mercury Comet. In the 60s, it's one of those old-timey cars, you know? You see them out on the road and you're like, whoa, look at that car. It's very angular. It's got crisp angles and lines. And she looked at it and she had a blast from the past. She said, wow, that looks just like my... And that's how she remembered it. Richard Allen's car that he was driving was a 2014 Ford Focus. Looks nothing like a Comet you will see. That's the vehicle Richard Allen was driving. But somebody else apparently was. Richard Allen was gone by that time. That's why Betsy did not see Richard Allen's car. She saw her Mercury, something that looked like a Mercury, and she will testify to that. You will hear Steve Mullen. When he asked about that, if he's consistent, he will say, I don't know how to account for that. There's reasonable doubt in this case. Well, what does the evidence show about what happened to the girls? What evidence is there that we can have to understand what happened with the girls? What will you be seeing in this case? Well, I think you're going to hear from, even today, Becky Patty, the grandma, and that she and Derek German, the dad, they all live together. You're going to find out what they were doing early in the day on Saturday. On Monday the 14th, okay? I'd even tell you that what they were doing that weekend, but they're definitely going to tell you what they were doing Monday the 13th. They had breakfast, they talked a little, and then at some point in time, Kelsey German, who is now Kelsey Siebert, will drive Abby and Libby to the trail. And I think she's going to testify today. And we know because of the harvest camera that Kelsey dropped them off at the Mears lot, then drove past the camera, and that's about 1:49 p.m. roughly. So the girls were dropped off about 1:47, which is going to be about a few minutes before or after Betsy got there. You'll find that out. Betsy and the girls, they were following. The girls were they came in right after Betsy. And then Kelsey drove this way. She's on camera, and we know what time the girls got there. Then you will find out that the girls walked down the trail to the bridge. And the trail is straight. And then it's like, the trail's like in your own community. You'll notice there's asphalt and then it's maybe, this wide. And people are walking up and down, exercising and whatnot. And you go down the trail. And then you get to a point that there's the bridge. This bridge that Mr. McClellan was talking. Big, scary bridge, and it is. You'll see photos of it. And when you get to that bridge, you can make a choice. Back then, it was easier than it is now, that you could get on that bridge and walk forward and just go straight to the other end. And those girls got on the bridge probably around 2:05. That's what the evidence will show. And Mr. McClellan is correct. When they got on that bridge at 2:07, and by the way, they passed Betsy. You're also going to find that out. Betsy will say she was traveling this way, and the girls were traveling this way, and that they passed one another. And the girls got on the bridge, and then they went down there. Now the bridge, it's long and it's high. Now, I'm on the bridge now, and this is what you're going to see. This bridge is it's very long, and it's dangerous. And as Mr. McClellan said, there are holes in it. It's the kind of thing that teenagers would do probably, and the girls are now walking on it. When they were about close to halfway on that bridge, 1/3 of the way, or halfway, you will see Libby was ahead over here. And she turned around and she took a photo of Abby heading this way, heading to the south end of the bridge where the abduction happens. Idea where the girls are at 2:07. 2:13 is when the abduction happens. So we know at 2:13 they're at the end of the bridge. So what happens then? Well, that's caught on video. This video you will watch, and you're going to see on this video, it's not very panoramic. You're not going to be able to see what everything is and where everything is and who is there. And you do hear this voice, girls down the hill. Police have to admit that the guy on the video, you don't see his mouth moving. You're not going to be able to be sure that he's the guy that's uttering these words. You're not going to be able to know whether there are more than one person at the end of the bridge. So what will you see on the video? And again, let me describe the end of that bridge for you. If I'm walking all the way to the end of the bridge, like the girls Abby and Libby did, you have a choice, and you're going to see it on this video. You can go left, go right. And it looks like on the video, the girls are headed this way, okay? And if that's the bridge and you head this way, there's one way down. And that's a steep incline of about 30 feet down the hill, okay? I don't think the evidence, they're going to be able to show that those girls actually went down the hill or not. They may have. The evidence may show you, or that in your opinion, it may show that they went straight. Or the evidence might show they ended up going down this lesser of an incline on the other side of the bridge. And the bridge is about that wide. Whew. All right, hold on. I need a sip of coffee here. Hey, Jonah. Hey, Skilo, Kim. Jess. Hope. Oh my goodness. Okay. So it's difficult to portray this through my voice because he's showing them a map of something and I don't have a map. So I'm pretending with my hands that I do. But clearly he's showing them something in the courtroom, so. Okay. Both, though, the more steep side and the less steep side, take you down and funnel you down an access road about 30 feet. Some might call it a driveway. What you're going to hear about is a guy named Brad Weber. That's his property, and this is Brad Weber's way to get to his property. He has two ways. There's that way and another way. To get to Brad Weber's house from this access road, the one way would be to get you, let me go back over here to where the bridge is on the right side where the girls were, and you go down the hill, and then that access road goes under the bridge and it goes that way. And it goes that way up to Brad Weber's house. So you can imagine that under the bridge. Okay, so I know what he's saying from what we see on the video. If you go this way, you're going down that very steep incline right down to where you can see the creek. But if you go that way, you can see the road right there through those trees and you can go underneath. So, now we don't know which, I mean, if you're thinking about this logically, unless there was proof on the video, do we know if they went left or right? We don't really know. We're assuming that they went, when he says down the hill, our natural assumption is they went down this side over here to where the creek is, and then they crossed the creek. I think what he's about to say is they could have gone this way where the road is. I can see what he's trying to get at here, so let's see if that's what he says. The state of Indiana will not be able to disprove that there was a vehicle down there or that there were other people there. And we happen to believe that the evidence will suggest that those girls may have gotten into a vehicle at that point. There is not going to be strong evidence about what happened at that point in time. I'm just telling you that. You can take from the information, though, from the hard data on Libby's phone and some other information and data that you may see from other sources. Here's what we do know. Libby's phone was connecting to the tower and receiving text messages. Where are you? What's going on? Voicemails, telephone calls, connecting to the tower, all the way up until 5:44 p.m. It's going to be an important time frame for you all, 5:44 p.m. At 5:44 p.m., the phone no longer connected to the tower. From 5:44 p.m., no connection to the tower, all the way until 4:33 a.m. when it reconnects to the tower, where the phone came back into an area where it connected again. So that gave me pause. I think we knew that, right? Did we know that? That's interesting. What would account for that? From 5:44 p.m., no connection to the tower, all the way until 4:33 a.m., when it reconnected to the tower, where the phone came back into an area where it connected to the tower again. So for about 12 hours, close to 10 hours, that phone did not connect to the tower. This phone, by the way, by their theory, was under Abby's body the entire time. You will also find out that after 4 o'clock, when they say Richard Allen never came back to the scene, he left and he never came back, their theory, he didn't take the phone with him. That's what they're going to tell you. That after 4 o'clock, human hands handled that phone. What? Wait. Okay, so let's read that again. Okay. You will also find out that after 4 o'clock, when they say Richard Allen never came back to the scene, he left and never came back, their theory, he didn't take the phone with him, that's what they're going to tell you. That after 4 o'clock, human hands handled the phone. Richard Allen was at home and he never came back. That's the evidence. You'll also hear something about what they are calling I know that word. Exigent circumstance pings. I don't think I'm saying that right. EXIGENT, exigent circumstance pings. You may have seen these on television. This is on movies and things like that, where someone is lost and they call AT&T. And in this case, and they say, hey, will you try and see if that phone's in the area? And that happened here. And consistent with what we know from the phone itself, the last time that phone connected, according to the exigent circumstance pings, the last time Libby's phone connected with the towers on Monday was 5:44 p.m. That will be something you hear. Every 15 minutes, that phone was being pinged. And every 15 minutes, it was showing it's not connecting to the tower. The last time she did, 5:44. So it's 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30. These aren't exact times. They're at different times, but it was roughly 15-minute increments. That phone is not connecting with the tower. Get out, rapper. Somebody block him, please. Ugh. I got him. Please just keep an eye on the chat if y'all can to get him out of here. No. Always block. Don't even time him out. Thanks. Okay. Around 10 o'clock, you will find out that Steve Mullen, he's a law enforcement officer that will be a witness in this case, that he contacted law enforcement. They contacted a guy named Mitch Blotcher with the state police. Mitch Blotcher was the guy who knows about the phone ping and how to analyze them. And Steve wrote a report about what Mitch concluded. And he concluded either the phone has not been connecting with the tower since about 5:44, so either the phone is no longer in working condition or it's out of the area. Well, we know, and you're going to find out, that the phone was in working order when it was found. So take that one down. It's left with the phone being out of the area. The phone that was supposed to be under Abby's body. So again, you will learn midnight, 12:15, 1 a.m., the phone is not connecting to the tower. And then at 4:33 a.m., and we're not going to be able to tell you, I don't think the evidence will, nobody will ever know exactly when that phone, when it was reconnected or did connect with the tower. Of course, the defense is saying that the phone was out and then it came back in. What we will tell you is that some point in time after that phone came back to the area, somebody brought those girls back down to where they were ultimately found, and that was probably after 4:33 a.m. And you're going to find out at 4:33 a.m., you know, when you're in a building and you try to text somebody and there are too many walls and you walk outside and you start getting texts and the texts start. At 4:33 a.m., 15 text messages matriculated, populated on that phone once it connected with the tower. You're going to find that out. And at some point in time, I don't think the evidence will be able to, at some point in time after that, after with the phone thing, the girls, somebody killed the girls, somebody put that phone under the body where it was then found around noon a few hours later. We are obviously telling you that the evidence will be that those girls were not where they were found on the 14th. They were not there on the 13th. And this will be a big help because there is other evidence out there that suggests these girls were not there on the 13th. So you're going to find out there was a search party assembled very quickly. It wasn't in Libby's nature, and I think Becky Patty will tell you this. It wasn't in her nature to be late like she was. So the family, very close family, they got together right away and said, this is not right. We've got to do something. So you're going to find out that they sprung into action very quickly, and they got a search party together, and it grew and grew. Facebook and stuff like that. They got on Facebook and said, hey, these girls are missing. And you're going to hear from the fire chief, former fire chief Starrett, and he's going to tell you about his part of the search party. There were 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys, and they searched for those girls on the 13th. When those bodies, according to the theory, should be over there. If this is I think this is the end of the bridge where it happened. If this is where the bodies were when the girls were abducted, where the girls were abducted, and you go down the hill, you can go down the hill, Starrett and his people that were here with him, they searched on this side. The bodies, by the way, were over there, and this is where they were, he indicates. Starrett and his people searched over here, indicates. Then they came over here, and they searched over here for 4 hours, and the girls were across the creek. And one thing you guys are going to find out, it's not very far from the end of the bridge where the girls' bodies were found across the creek. It's kind of like that way from the edge. So if they went down that hill, here's the bodies. They were found that way, probably less than 300 yards. So I think, let's see here. I'm just looking at one thing. Hold on here. I don't know if I can. I think I can show this up here, right? I don't know if it's going to show it to you guys, but let me see. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. I just want to pull this up because he's explaining all of this and it's like, sir. Okay, so I have this actual photo here, and let me show it to you. Okay, can you guys see that? Yes, you can. Let me open it a little more. See? So what he's saying is there were searchers here, there was clothing there, and the bodies were here. And now this is a weird view of this. Let me see if I can show you another one here, because this is like a drone view, which is kind of crazy. But let's look at this one. Okay. That's not very better. That's not very better. Let me see what the best. That's Logan's house. Well, here are searchers. I mean, they were everywhere. And the girls, I think, were over here. Okay, so in any case, he's describing all of this, right? Okay. They searched there for 4 hours, and the girls were across the creek. And one thing you guys are going to find out is it's not very far from that end of the bridge to where the girls' bodies are across the creek. It's kind of like that way from the edge. So if they went down the hill, here's the bodies. They were found probably less than 300 yards. It's about 800 feet and some odd feet, not very far. And that's at an angle. And what Sterrett will tell you is, my people that I was with, and they were spread out, and they were looking on this side. Well, they weren't on the side that the bodies were. But what did they see on the side that the bodies were? People with flashlights on that side. And not one person saw any bodies over there, because the defense theory is the bodies weren't there. They were somewhere else. And you're going to find out a little bit about the area. Not a lot, a little. Probably more than you want to. That the area where the girls were found. It's flat. It's a natural place for these people to be walking with the flashlights. Now, Sterrett, I don't want to oversell. Sterrett's not going to be able to tell you that that the flashlights were where the bodies are for sure, because he doesn't know. He just saw the flashlights over there. You're also going to find out, and Mr. McClellan talked about this a moment ago, that there's clothing in the creek, and that's going to be important. One thing you're going to find out is this. The people that were searching, they were preparing for the worst, that maybe those girls were in the creek, and maybe they were floating on top of the water. So some of the people that were going along the creek bed looking for the girls. Now, if the state's theory were true, that the clothing of the girls that was found on the 14th should be in the creek where the people are searching with their flashlights, and nobody saw any clothing on the 13th in the creek, it was only later that they saw this clothing. As an additional piece of evidence that you will have to show is that the girls weren't there on the 13th. What? Hold on. It was only later that they saw the clothing in the creek, as an additional piece of evidence that you will have to show that the girls weren't there. Okay, so that's an additional piece of evidence is what he's saying. And is there anything else? Yes. Jerry Holman will tell you that from where the girls were found to the bridge, you can hear voices. And around the time that their theory that Richard Allen abducted the girls, there would be people walking on the bridge. 4 people, and you will hear from them. Daniel Pearson, Shelby Hicks, Cheyenne Mill, and Shelby Duncan. 2 of them went to this end of the bridge where it's really, the bodies are over that way. 2 of them were at this end of the bridge, and you're very close, I think. That I would call it close to where the bodies were. Again, none of them heard anything. No screams, no voices, no wrestling, nothing. Right around the time when they say Richard Allen was abducting these girls. I mean, if anybody killed those girls, the evidence would show on the 13th, just for that reason alone, there was no sound of anything. The evidence will be that those girls were gone. There might be other evidence out there that you guys see individually, but this is the type of case where the jury sees and picks up on things that we don't see. That always happens, especially on longer cases. You guys might pick up, so keep your eyes and your ears open, because you're going to see some things as well, I think. Okay. Well, I know I've been going on long. Yes, sir, you have. And I could go on with this longer, but this stuff is important, and I'm going to try to sit down as quickly as I can. But I do want to talk about what I think the state thinks and what they say under oath about the bullet, and we'll call it confession and timeline. I want to go through those very briefly. Confessions. You have this and the other evidence I've talked about, and none of that stuff matters. So they can put up what I expect they're going to put up, person after person after person, and video after video, and audio after audio of all these confessions of an innocent man. But the hard evidence, it doesn't matter that the hard evidence shows otherwise. And what you're going to find out, you're going to see these videos. And we're going to show you videos of Richard Allen in his cell, how this guy was taken out of his house, and as I said in the mini opening, away from his wife of 30 years to a prison where he's standing in this tiny little cell with a bed about that high on the ground, about 2 feet from a toilet, watched 24 hours a day, told he's a baby killer. He went in there fragile to begin with. You're going to see some video that's upsetting, and it should be upsetting. Even the video of him talking to his stepdad saying, "Don't give me any money, don't hire me a lawyer." You're going to find out even in November, within 2 weeks of him being at Westville, he said, "Maybe I'll just admit it to all, so you guys don't have to suffer." That was the beginning. When these confessions happened, it was after close to 6 months, 5 to 6 months later, after all he had endured, what he had endured, confessing to shooting those girls in the back when they weren't shot. Things I told you in the mini opening. So he told them he shot them in the back? You take those confessions for what you think they are worth when you compare it to other evidence. That's what we will ask you to do. And what about the bullets? Well, before you're going to hear from psychologists, Dr. Gracian and Dr. Westcott. They are the expert. The magic bullet, one witness called it. Here's what you're going to find out. First of all, unless I see something I haven't seen before, and maybe even if I just missed it, if it existed, just kind of, maybe these photos exist, but I haven't seen them, we'll see. There's the magic bullet that's in the ground, they say, right here. And as some of you, and you see some photos of that bullet as it is in the ground. And maybe they will produce these, but I haven't seen them. There's not a video of this important main piece of evidence. Angle, and from that angle, just a photo of the bullet in the ground. And then later on, a different, a bullet, a different photograph of a bullet at the lab where it was tested. But in between, I didn't see anything else. So what else? You're going to find out this bullet, that law enforcement commonly use a 40 caliber bullet. Guns that use 40 caliber bullets, even Sig Sauers, are very common. And if there's gun people on the jury, they may have heard of the Sig Sauer. That's the gun they found at Richard's house, a very common gun. Law enforcement uses Sig Sauers, 40 cal bullets. So you would think, okay, let's test and find out whether it's police were walking around in the area. Did they drop a bullet? Let's see if that happened. Hey, I want every police officer that was at the crime scene walking around. I want to know what kind of gun they had and if they were missing any bullets. You'd think that would happen, but it did not. That I would want every 40 caliber handgun the police had tested. You would think that that happened, but it didn't. Okay, now we're on to Brad Weber. You're also going to find out that Brad Weber, remember that guy? He's the guy whose driveway goes all the way up to his house, right? He had a 40 caliber Sig Sauer in his vehicle. And that handgun was tested, and it was not excluded as the weapon, okay? Here's what you're going to find out about the test itself. We have an expert named Dr. Warren, and he's going to be very, very critical of the way this testing process was handled. Here's the way it was handled and what you'll find out. The bullet that they got out of the ground had markings on it that you can see. This bullet, this is important, Mr. McClellan talked about this a little bit. It was never is when law enforcement took a pristine bullet and put it into Richard's gun and cycled it through to recreate how the bullet came out when they found it. And when they took the pristine bullet after it had been cycled and looked at it, some of the markings were insufficient. They just couldn't be seen well enough. And he didn't say that, I said that. So that's the starting point of the problem with the bullet. So what did they have to do? They had to law enforcement, they really wanted this to work out. So they fired a bullet that was fired out of a weapon. Now it has sufficient markings on there to at least see it. They're comparing the bullet to the bullet that was found in the ground that had insufficient markings or that had sufficient markings. Now this bullet has sufficient markings and they're going to tell you, oh yes, they're the same bullet. It's comparing apples and oranges. That's what you're going to hear. By the way, you all have eyeballs. When you see the comparison photographs with your own eyeballs, it will tell you these don't match. Your own eyeballs. You don't need an expert, folks, because you have eyes. You'll also hear things, and I don't want to get too muddled down. You're also going to hear about subclass. Any gun, let's say a Sig Sauer that fires a weapon, it's going to have similar tool markings, that's what they call it, on each individual bullet. But they're going to be similar subclasses. And there's some of that going on here, too, because the bullets are consistent in some ways because they came from a gun that was similar. And these subclasses, Mr. Rossi will be handling all of the ballistics, and he will be telling you why that's important and why it shows that this magic bullet is of no real value. You will also hear from Melissa Oberg, who is the state's witness. She no longer works. I'm sorry. I know people might have to go to the restroom. I'm going as quickly as I can, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. He's very sorry. Melissa Oberg, she will tell you she's no longer with the Indiana State Police. She's the one that tested the bullets, and she's the one that's interpreting the evidence of the bullets. And you'll hear her say this. When I did this over 1,100, 1,300 times, and when people, I was never wrong. Now, the people I work with, I would check their workout and their work. They were wrong, but I was never wrong. That's the person interpreting the bullet. You'll hear her testify. They've got a magic bullet, and we've got other evidence. I'm going to go quickly through the timeline then, and I'm sorry this is so important, but we will talk about Betsy again. Betsy arrives So the third thing that they can try to say that they have is the timeline on their side, and they cannot. The evidence will not support it. All right, timeline. Here we go. All right, we're going to the timeline. So wait, you guys are buffering or no? Are we buffering? Are we having sound issues? Are we having any issues? If so, people have to be letting me know so that I'm not just sitting here reading for no reason. Not now. How can I have a direct connection? It's been buffering for you too. Oh, come on, guys. You got to help me out here. What the fuck? I've been reading for an hour and 13 minutes. You guys are like, oh yeah, you've been buffering. It's going in and out. It's doing all the things. What? Oh my goodness. Me here on my end. Was it after I showed the photo? It's super smooth to me. What? No, it just happened and then it stopped. Okay, those times it's because I moved back and came back over. Okay. All right, I won't move. Okay. All right, the timeline. Betsy Blair gets to the trails at 1:49 p.m., right before Kelsey drops off the girls, right? So she drops them off at Mayor's entrance. They go on. Betsy goes on the trail. She walks the trails. She gets to where the high bridge starts. When you see all the evidence, this will start to make sense. It's hard to conceptualize right now, but the trail ends, and there the bridge begins. And when she got to where the bridge begins, she saw with her own eyes from 50 feet away a guy who they're claiming is Bridge Guy. What they failed to tell you, the state, just a moment ago, is that the person Betsy observed is in her early 20s, maybe 30. He had brown fluffy hair. Richard Allen has kept his hair short since 1989. His wife will tell you about it. He was in the military. He likes it short. And he obviously ain't 20 years old. Rick, is short. Betsy Blair did not say the guy was short. That's the guy they say is the killer. Betsy, I told you about the car. Jesus Christmas. Hold on, please. Hello? What? I'm on a live stream. What's up? Are you home? Okay. Can I call you back? All right. Now I'm cutting in and out. I wonder if my Bluetooth was fucking with it. I paused because I had to answer the phone. I'll give it a second. How is it now? Better? Or worse? It's okay now. It's not cutting in and out. Can you hear me? Is it okay? We're almost done anyway. It should be fine. Okay. 1 and 2, huh, Lisa? Okay. Okay. You think it was YouTube you refreshed and it's fine? Okay, thanks, Moon. All right. Betsy Blair did not say the guy was short. That's the guy they say is the killer. I told you about the car Betsy saw. It doesn't fit the description of Richard Allen's car. Totally different. That timeline will be a problem. Sarah Carbar. See, one way to easily understand who these witnesses are, and I know it's hard right now, but Betsy Blair's at the beginning, like bookends. Betsy's at the beginning, the person she saw that they say is Richard Allen, the 20-something-year-old guy with brown poofy hair, that's the beginning. Sarah is at the end. They're supposed to be the same guy, according to their theory. So, Sarah, who did she see? I think you're going to like her, but her story is completely inconsistent. In 2017, in June, she was interviewed, and she said the guy she saw, the guy had a tan jacket on, and it was muddy. 2019, 2 years after that, after the video had been out, photos had been out, her story now is no. Well, she didn't just say no. She said, the guy I saw had a blue jacket and it was bloody. Now he was muddy and bloody, like a pig. He had slaughtered a pig. Her story completely changed, and you'll have to take her testimony for what you think it's worth. But if Betsy did not see Richard Allen, then the theory is falling apart. And you can conclude that there's reasonable doubt that she saw Richard Allen, and you'll know what to do. If Sarah did not see Richard Allen, or you don't trust her testimony, that is reasonable doubt. And also, if they didn't see the same person, the person they describe are two different people, and they're saying that it's the same person, Richard Allen, the timeline does not work out. We're in the home stretch here. Other stuff that's important, and this is what I've labeled it. DNA, Richard Allen. No DNA at the scene, not connected in any way. Social media on Richard Allen, no connection to the girls, no connection to the scene, no connection to any of that business. Forensic data, none of that connecting Richard Allen to anything. Talked about the hair in Abby's hand, and just 7 years. Really? I mean, that's what you're going to find out? It's taken them 7 years to figure out whose hair is on her hand and whether it's family or not? They're scrambling right now. And there's another thing you're going to find out. Dr. Kaur is the guy who conducted the forensic pathology. He's the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsies. He's going to tell you it looks like there were 2 blades used on the girls' necks. A serrated blade? Isn't there a lot of stuff here? A serrated blade, a non-serrated blade, and they're going to tell you that Richard Allen claimed he killed those girls with a box cutter at some point. Serrated blade and a non-serrated. That could indicate 2 people. What the defense will tell you. 2 different people using 2 different knives. There's evidence of that, and that's what the evidence is. 2 or more people. I'm not even talking about the crime scene. I'm not going to do that to you. I think we all need a break. But when you see the crime scene, you're going to understand it's highly unlikely that one person could have done everything that was done to those girls and surrounding and the area around those girls. It's a very bizarre scene. There are sticks laid across these girls, the court. Mr. Baldwin, with all due respect, you are very close and are arguing the evidence. This is not the argument. This is opening statement, sir. I've given you a lot of leeway. Move on, please. Mr. Baldwin. Thank you. There were sticks on those girls. It's a scene you will see, and you will have to make a decision. about you will have to make a decision about, can one person do that? Well, you're going to find out from the evidence that they didn't think one person can do all of that until Richard was arrested. Who's they? Toby Lesenby, the sheriff. He thought not one. It's going to take more than one person to do that. Who else? Tony Liggett. You need more than one person. And there might be other people, other law enforcement, that get up and testify that there was more than one person. That would take more than one person. Please wait. Richard Allen is innocent. He's really innocent. The court. You may call your first witness, Mr. McClelland. Thank you, Judge. Do we need time for our separation of witnesses, folks? Sure, Miss Diner. To leave? Yes. The jury's indicating they need a break. My goodness. Okay. So, Becky Patty's first. All right, so I don't know. Where do you think it's going to end up? I mean, I couldn't even read all of these if I tried. I'll end up with dry mouth. I'll die. But I know that there are people who are going to try to read people, and I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can. Yeah, I'm a little weird about voices anyway, so I couldn't do it. I do really like Criminality's voice, so perhaps. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't see anybody else. I know that the Defense Diaries is reading some. I don't know if they're gonna reenact the examinations and stuff, but maybe they will. So without hearing any of this, put a 1 if he's innocent, put a 2 if he's guilty. 1 for innocent, 2 for guilty, just based on what you know from these opening statements right now and what you've heard. I love reading them. I don't like that you guys had issues with the stream, but on my end it sounded fine, so I don't know. 1. I still do think a lot of people think he's innocent, which is interesting to me. But Moonbatch said 3 because I don't know. Hey, Deborah. Okay, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Still unsure, but leaning towards 1. Okay. Maybe we can, those who know the case, maybe we can go through and decide whose testimony we really want to hear. There were a lot. I mean, we've got Becky Patty, who's the grandma who I've met. One of the nicest people, literally, ever. What do I think? You know, the sticks, the tree, the connection through the, you know, the whole Odinism thing sticks with me still. It does. But Dr. Walla, yeah. It does. I mean, I can't lie, even though it sounds like a conspiracy. I can't lie and say that the Odinism angle doesn't bother me a bit. It does. And if her phone wasn't pinging there and they were trying to ping the phone to find them, that just doesn't make any sense. You know, I almost want to go through and highlight as we're going through, you know, the things that really stand out. The phone pinging thing is really bothersome. Jess, I think, you know, even the circumstantial evidence, you know, there's a lot of evidence of him confessing over and over and over again. What do you do with that? I don't know. You know, if somebody's confessing, you're like, oh, well,
You confess. That's your own problem, buddy. Was he crazy? Was he pressured? Did he just think, there's no way I'm getting out of this? They're going to pin it on me regardless? Or did he really do it? And he just. How did he do it? How did he not have blood in his car or blood on him when he got home? Or. I don't know. I don't know. But he was there. I mean, he was on the bridge. Is he 20 years old and 5'11"? No. But it's very. False confessions are. There are a lot of false confessions. Yeah, there's definitely some things that they say only he would know, like the van. Like they go on to say something about the van that was going by, that interrupted him in that moment from molesting the girls, from sexually assaulting the girls. So I can't either. It does bother me that let me see here. I've got quite a bit of the. Is this? It truly, truly bothered me about the Odinist stuff. And I mean, it still does. Oh, that's way too big, sir. Good Lord in heaven, Jesus. But, once they. Tracy, ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am. Okay. Maybe that's not going to be the picture for us. Hold on. I have a whole oldness file, for mother's sakes. There are drawings and other things. I do have one of the autopsy things that I'm not going to put up. Here's some crazy shit that bothered me from Cuckoo's page. I'm going to show it to you guys. Hold on. This fucking dude. He really made me crazy, this guy. And I mean, why, bro? Why? Why were you taking photos that look like this? It doesn't make sense. Then the crime scene ends up looking like that? Why? Why? I don't understand that part. It really bothers me a lot. I mean, he stuck out to me a ton. He really did. And he bothers me more than any of these people. I mean, this was one of the things on his page because he's a fucking nutball. Bro, what even is this? What even is any of this, sir? I mean, how the legs are. Clearly they were not hanging from a tree, but look at the leg positioning. I don't know. It just really is upsetting. These are pictures that were drawn by people who were in the courtroom. This could be hidden true crime. It could be somebody else. I know this is. See how her leg is here? Like up and under. Then these are sticks in this pattern. I've done videos on it. They're all. Yeah, that one did look like the hangman, yes. Yeah, Andy, have you ever watched my videos on it? I did a series on different people or different theories that were out there at the time while the trial was happening, because was so baffled. Like, how can all this be happening? What is this? Like, this one bothers me a lot as well. So much. So much. These were just interpretations of what they thought. But if you look at these, they really bother me a lot. I don't know. But people will say, you know, he confessed. I mean, he had this on his Facebook page. So think about what I just showed you, right? Oh my God, why won't that show up? Maybe it's too big. Hold on. It's huge. Jeez Louise. It's on here. Hold on. The picture itself is just enormous. I have to shrink it down enough to get it to you guys. What the fuck, bro? Why? Why? What is that? And why is it on your fucking Facebook? Why? It really bothers me. You haven't, Andy? Oh, they're very good. If I do say so myself. Who do I think I am? They actually, I mean, they were in depth. They took me forever. I used every bit of information that I could find on all of these different people. It's under Chasing Delphi, in my playlists. HTC was disgusting. I agree. Because she already had an opinion formed and she acted like she didn't. No, it's not appropriate. Thanks, Nicole. I mean, really, like, I'm like, oh, my videos were great. I do think they were well done, though. They were well done to look at other parts of what was going on. I approached it with a completely neutral look to say, okay, if I'm looking at this from the outside because we can't hear the trial, based on what we know, what does this look like? What does this look like to you? And to me, it was psychotic. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, I have a folder. My folders are Bridge Guy, Crime Scene, Family, February 13th, Witnesses, February 14th, Keegan, Phone Data, Podcast. That's where I put my drafts. All the police reports, Richard Allen, search warrants, suspect interviews, the trial in court, timeline narratives, tips, witness statements. I read so much about this case. It just didn't make any sense to me. When you go through the witness statements, oh yeah, Nicole, that's true. I'm an award-winning fucking YouTuber. How about that? The board, please do. You're in the room with an award-winning YouTuber. They sent me another gift today. It was so sweet. But I'm like, okay. That's it. Thank you. Bye. I don't know. The whole thing bothers me. It does. Let me see here. I like longer videos myself. I don't like short videos. So, I don't know if... Let me see the playlist here. Chasing Delphi. There's 5 of them. Why am I seeing myself like a fucking weirdo? Oh, because it's the first one in. You're a nutball, Tracy. You are that. You're a nutball. All right. This one. Let me show you guys this one. Let's see here. This here is confessions. I'm not sharing sound, I don't think. But there are people who confess too. Literally. They confessed. So he confessed, but they confessed too. I don't know if any sound will play. I don't think so. Delphi, a quiet town in rural Indiana where life once moved at a gentle, predictable pace. But on February, can you hear it? Now back on topic. Are you thinking, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I love the 6-hour deep dives too, Andy. Literally. Like, I need all the deep dives. Well, I do go over there. I'm not going to play them for you now because what am I, a narcissist? No, that's weird. But I did put a lot of fucking time and effort into these. So if you want to watch them, you can. But that's this one. These people, this fucking guy said he spit on them, the girls. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Where the hell are the rest of them? Hello? Hold, please. Did I not put them all in the playlist? Because I'm fucking weirdo. Maybe not. Let me make sure I add them. Delphi. Why aren't you in the playlist, friend? Save to playlist. Alright, that one's in there. That one's in there. That's in there. Oh, this one's not in there. This one's 2 hours. You have your nerve, bitch. What are you actually doing with your life? Alright, there's that one. Oh, this one's 2 hours too. This one was the Norse religion. Oof. Girl, bad. That one was scary. Westfall. Richard Allen's Probable Cause. I guess I can put that in there. Ron Logan. Oh yeah, his interrogation videos too. Those were upsetting. Alright, so now they're all in there for you. I am really in the dark here. Am I not? Hi. You see the rain behind me? It's raining. Alright. Play them? I am not. You guys go play them. I mean, we could go over them, but if you, not tonight. If you think about who you've heard of that was on the witness list and you want to read their specific transcripts, we can do that. But what do the parents think about Richard Allen? Kim, I think that that somebody's being punished for it. You know, I mean, all these years later, they're being told it's Richard Allen, so I haven't heard them all talk about it. I mean, they've been on, you know, Becky was on a few channels, and she believes they have the right guy. So, based on what? I guess we're going to find out through reading all these transcripts. But each thing is like, let me look. Let me look. I downloaded the whole thing, so Let me see here. I can only fucking imagine. That was volume 9, and it was 826. So yeah, they're about, oh my god, 250 pages each. Yeah, that's 250. That's 250. Let me see this one. Yeah, they're all 250 pages each, and there are, we just did one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Motherfuck. Yeah, there's no way we're going through all of those. Can't do it. That's way too many. I'm going to watch them all. Yay. I'm telling you, the word, it, you know, I admitted the other night, I said, you know, I'm going to go watch Brittany because I do want to know myself from my own perspective. I want to know what all this is about. And I did started listening, and I'm like, what are we even talking about at this point? And it's so much. Like, I might listen during the day. Today, I've been completely engulfed for the first more than, I don't know, 7 hours of the day, just listening to MLM cult videos. Don't ask. And then for the second half, the last few hours, I've been reading the transcripts. And that's it. Oh, look at your rune on there. Yes, that is the rune that they said was on the tree. Or, well, kind of. Hello, Key think we should read them all. Hear me out. We only got what other people thought was important. Do you want to read too? I have to hear your voice reading, though. Hold on. I'm like, but wait. Hold on. I know what your voice sounds like, but I have to hear it right now. And if it makes me crazy, I can't do it. I don't think it does, though. I think I like your voice. But I don't know. Maybe I don't. I have such a weird fucking thing with voices. I have issues. Let's see.
Yeah, water.
That's not your voice. Girl, where's your fucking voice?
Hey, so that means
These are phone calls. Girl. Alright. Let me see. Let me go to your live. Alright. Like, I'll even curtsy, you fucking bitch. I know, it's terrible. I don't know. I hate my own fucking voice most of the time.
should retort.
I'm so excited.
So, without further ado,
So that's you
Here we are.
and Melissa
All right.
and Alex. Okay.
damn. Just because me and Allie and Melissa have been careful and we won't release your name doesn't mean that another creator won't.
True.
And that's all I'm going
True
to tell
that.
you.
That is.
I will say, we only know her first name, but we have her number and stuff like that. We could find out who she was. We just haven't. We've chose not to. You know what I mean?
With him.
But
Yeah.
I just want to say that though, because I had said we don't technically know exactly who she is. We just know.
Alex, we're doing an audition
Okay,
here.
and then hi.
There you are.
This is so strange. I've never been on Streamlabs before.
I'm
love
fancy now,
Melissa's
MJ. I'm fancy.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
You are
Hold on.
fancy.
What is? I don't. Hold on. Let's do it like. There we
Oh,
go.
you
That's
hate your
better.
voice.
Okay.
So, well, maybe we can have. So maybe we can do like 3-hour streams. I think 3 is a good number. Hold on. You read for an hour, I'll read for an hour, and then we'll make one of the girls read for an hour. How about that? Somebody from the chat. We might be able to get these motherfuckers done. YouTube bad actors, nothing. We're just trying to decide who's going to read. Because these are, I mean, they're 250 pages. How long do you think it's going to take to read 250 fucking pages? A really long time. I mean, Gray and I did it, not with 250 pages, though. Like, you could be the court, and then I could be the whoever, you know. I don't know. One of us is the witness, and one of us is the lawyer, right? Nicole, you'll read? Yeah, 3 is good. Thank you. So maybe we'll have the court, the lawyer, and you could read for both lawyers, you know what I mean? Like, and then the witness. That would work. At least 11 billion, girl. Like 11 billion years. What in the actual? Oh my God, it's going to be terrible. But we should, because again, we only know what people at the trial reported. And it's impossible to say everything. But what I did to report on what was going on is I took all the articles from live blogs online, put them all into documents, took that to AI, and said, give me what's consistent and give me what's inconsistent in order to understand what was actually going on. So, for example, if Mr. McClellan had said 25 things that day and 7 people reported it differently but similar, then it would spit that out and summarize it, you know. But, you know, if somebody was way out there because they were biased or something, then it reported it different. 11 billion's a lot of years, though. I think we should pick, or, you know, like this is direct exam of Becky Patty, okay? Let's see, like, what they put in here. They're going to put in really heartbreaking things. Like, what does she do for a living? Who's Kelsey? You know, oh, is she married now? Yes, she's married. Those kind of things. I don't know. Yeah, they are great. I love listening to the 3 of them together on the Letitia stuff. It's, God, Letitia's bonkers. 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 Yeah, that's why I did it that way. Because I would listen to like Hidden True Crime. And then I would listen to another reporter who was there. And I'm like, what? What? So I found all the live news blogs, like people who were there and just typing away. And it was like live on their website. So I'd wait till the next day, pull the whole transcript, and then do a summary. Yeah, I don't think we should read the I personally think we need to read anybody who was on the bridge that day, the police, all the police, and of course, you know, the forensics, the person who looked at the bullets, the phone forensic stuff, all of those things. So maybe, are you in the Discord? And Gavels in the general? If not, I can post it, or I'll ask her to post it. Because maybe we can make like a schedule, and then we can all, you know, if we all like take an hour, do like, it could be like the longest live stream ever. If we had like, you know, 5-6 hours a day, and there's 5 or 6 of us, we each take an hour so that we can be doing other things and listening. I don't know. We can work it out though. In the 11 billion years. You're not in the fucking Discord? Why? Why aren't you in there? Do you think Discords are the devil? Maybe you do. Maybe you do, and that's why you're not in there. This one's not the devil. It's not. All right, Nicole. Yeah, I don't, all the getting to know you stuff is, I'm making my head spin. See, if you're not in the Discord, then how are we gonna get a fucking schedule? It has to be organized. I don't have fucking free-for-alls around here. I can't do it. No, I think people are the devil. Discord is just an app. Well, that's true. So, well, would you go into the Discord so that we can make a schedule? Or maybe we can have I can share my Google Drive with a calendar. This is actually a really good idea. We could do a Google Drive calendar. I'll share it on my wall, and then the days that you want to participate, you just sign up for your hour slot. I'm brilliant. That's why I won an award, because I'm actually brilliant. That's what happened. Okay. It's like a sign-up sheet, like a volunteer sheet. Okay. Create Google Calendar. Read Delphi. Look at that. Boop. You have Discord. No, I need a schedule because you have the Stearns trial too. Oh, and you would go in. All right. Okay. I'll invite you, and then we'll also share the Google thing. And then that way people can just sign up and be like, yeah, I'll read for an hour. Why not? I think that's a really good idea. All right, off I go. My child was calling me earlier, and I don't know what she needed. Discord lives up to its name. You two bad actors, that it does. But truly, if you have good people in there, it doesn't. I promise you. I haven't had any issues at all. Everybody's been awesome. Like, a great idea because people want... Yeah, some people may not want to, and they may want to participate, and they don't even have the Discord app, and they're like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.